All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys can hear me. Once again, my name is Cedric, and this is a freelancers training brought to you by Kolaborate. So, without wasting time, today we're going to put our hands dirty on writing some code and making sure that we are able to walk away with something basic and practical. So, first thing first. Yesterday, I told you that you need to have a few softwares in your machine. You need to have VS Code in your machine. So, as I speak right now, I'm expecting all of you to be having VS Code installed on your computers. All right, so we already talked about HTML, it's hypertext markup language. Yes, we already talked about it. I thought I was making a different presentation. We already talked about what HTML is. It's a standard language for creating websites, and it uses tags to structure and format content on the web. So we use a lot of tags to structure content and then format different content on the web. So that is what we use when we come to building websites. Then two, we talked about a web page already. We talked about that a web page is a document that is displayed in a web browser, and it contains text, images, videos, and other different multimedia content. When you talk about multimedia, it's a combination of media, meaning there is video, there is audio, there's word, and all those kind of different stuff, and they're organized using HTML. So we're just going to look at the basic things we need to really understand about HTML. Sorry, the basic things we really need to understand about HTML document, how it works. So every HTML document has a basic structure. So this is the basic structure. This structure will not change for Japan. It won't change for China. It's the structure. So we have a structure that we follow. And the main one, there's what you call, we have a lot of tags, by the way, in HTML. So there's what you call, the first one you see here is what you call, is what you call iDoc type HTML, which declares the type of document. So in every code we're going to write, some of this you might not understand it now, but you'll understand it in the next few 10 minutes as we start to code. We put it in code, you'll know why it's written like this. So you use the less than sign, exclamation mark, doc type is HTML. So this means that every document that you're going to enter on this code will be a document based on HTML. So it's iDoc type. We normally call it iDoc type, but it's just exclamation mark. Then two, we have HTML itself, a tag called HTML. So this is the root element of the document, where every single code goes in. It's the root of everything you're going to write goes in the HTML. And then we have another one called the head. It contains metadata and links to styles or scripts. Now, in this section, which is called the head, is where you put metadata. Now, metadata, I'm going to explain what it is in a better version later on. But let's say you want your website to be found easily online. You want to put what you call different SEOs, search engine optimizations format. You put them in the head section. Now, if you have different links you want to embed on your website, for example, let's say stylings or JavaScript, this is where they stay. Then the body contains the main content of the document. So let's start with the iDoc type tag. So this defines the document type and the version of HTML, and it ensures that the browser renders the page correctly. So any code that you write which is in HTML, this is always the first line of code you write, iDoc type HTML. And remember this, someone might ask a question that, is HTML case sensitive? So in programming, we are very sensitive to cases, very sensitive to cases, because in programming language, when you write capital D is different from small d, very different. Now, this answers the question someone was asking yesterday, that is HTML a programming language? No, first of all, it's not case sensitive in any way. So even if you use capital letters or small letters, it won't matter. But why would you use capital letters if it is not for iDoc type? So this is the only thing so far I've seen in HTML where people write it in capital letters. The rest is always small letters. So this defines the document type and version, and it ensures that the browser renders the page correctly. Now, the second one is the HTML tag. And you're going to get used to writing a lot of tags, less than, equals to, less than, equals to. So this is the root element that encompasses all contents in the HTML document. And then we have the head. We have the head tag that we call it the head element. The head element contains metadata about the document, such as the title of the page. For example, let's say all page titles, they are contained in this sector called the head. We have links to external CSS or external style sheets that you're going to see how people work with external style sheets, internal style sheets, and then link to JavaScript code. They put them all in the head. And then now the title tag defines the title of the document displayed in the browser. Now I'm going to show you just what the title is there. Let me see. Let me just share my, okay, I'll show you when I start the real coding, then you're able to see. So the title of the document is displayed in the browser tab. So what you see on top of your tabs is the title. So you put them in the title tag. Then we have the body that contains every visible content. So any content that is visible on the web page that people see is put in the body. Now, everything that goes in the head section, everything I was talking about, people don't see them These are the things that you're the only person who sees them actually. Now, what people see, for example, let's say the title of the website, the images, everything is contained in the body of the document. So that is where you put every single detail. And then we have quite a number of tags that we're going to be using. We have what we call heading tags. So heading tags, they define the heading on the web page. Let's say you want to put different titles, and they range from H1 to H6. So we have H1. H1 is the largest, is the biggest. I think its font size should be about, I think maybe 42 or something. It's the biggest. And then H6 is the smallest, meaning there is H2, H3, H4, 5, 6. Those are the different headings that we have when we're writing our code. And then we have what you call paragraphs. These are paragraph tags. And it's very simple. When you want to build a paragraph, you can't write a paragraph without the P sign. So any paragraph that you want to work on, you use the P tag. And then we have the next one. It's A. This is what you call the anchor tag. Anchor tag, it defines a hyperlink. Hyperlink is, for example, let's say you go on the internet or in a particular website, and then you want something to route you to the next place. You want to move to the next place. So when you hover over something, means you're moving over it. For example, with a mouse, or you just touch it, something like that. So defines an hyperlink, allowing users to navigate to other pages or different resources. For example, if I build my website and I want you to download a document on my website, I'll put the document within that link. Then we have what you call attributes. So you're going to listen to a lot of what you call tags. So this is a tag. What you see up here is a tag. And then there are attributes that we use when working on a website. Now, attributes contain things like href. I'll explain this one later in the code. But this href is what gives you the directory of a file. This specifies the URL of a link. URL is simply the uniform resource locator. Other people say universal resource locator, which is, to me, I would say that they basically kind of take us back to the same thing. Yeah, so it's just a link. It's basically a link. Or let's say a link to, let's say, google.com. That is a URL already, which is in actual sense, we shall call it a domain name. So it's a lot of things just in between there. So, and then we have what we call IMG tags. Now, if we want to work with different images on the website, this is what embeds an image into your web page. This is, if you want to put an image on a website, you use what you call IMG tags. And then it has attributes. Now, attributes, these are special key, I can say keywords that we use to make sure we adjust or define what should happen to a particular task we're doing on our code. For example, there's an attribute called source, SRC, which shows the path to the image file. And then there's an attribute called ALT, which is an alternative. So when you're using this ALT, if an image is not being seen, there's a text that will always be seen. If you remember back in the days when we used to use Zero Facebook, and then you can't really see the photo, but you know what is happening there. They tell you that there's an image of a kid smiling. So that is what we call alternative. So they let you know what is happening when the photo is not being seen. For example, let's say you have a very slow internet connection and the image is not loaded, but there's a text that will come to you and tell you what the image is. So that is what you call alt. The attribute is called alt. So whatever text you put there, it should be able to be displayed to the client or the website user that is using the website. And then we have a few things like when it comes to listing, creating different lists, creating different numbers of people, where there's what you call unordered list. Unordered list, the tag is UL. So some of the things are even very straightforward. Like you can just, if you want to make a list, you'll just know a list is UL, which is unordered list. Now, unordered list, can someone explain what unordered list is? Yes, Daniel.
For an unordered list, I think there's a list that is not numbered. Like for the one which is ordered has numbers like item 1, 2, 3, but for the one which is unordered, they just use like bullets.
Yeah. Thank you. They're just they're very disorganized. You don't know which one is first, you don't know which one is last. So they're just bullets, icons, that is what we call unordered list. Then for ordered lists, they use numbers, can be Roman number or just numeric numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then there is also a tag called LI, which is listing items. So this, we shall get to explore them today. So today we're not going to do CSS. We're not going to do CSS. We're going to be able to start doing CSS together with what we have right now tomorrow. So remember, this is not a class that you're going to be able to learn everything. Tomorrow, then let's say at the end of the 4 days, you're going to be able to build the most powerful websites ever. No, you're going to be able to, as long as you follow what the instructor is telling you, you find that even after 2 weeks, you're able to build a website. Trust me, I'm sure what I'm telling you. You're going to be able to really build a website, just like how you're doing on WordPress. I'm pretty sure some of you are really in love with WordPress because it's nice, you're seeing how it's flowing. And now when it gets to yourself, you'll be like, oh, this thing is not working, but this is all good. So, and let me just give you also a little bit of difference between the two. What we're going to do right now, building a website, we can all achieve it by WordPress. We can also achieve what WordPress is doing by writing code. Now, the only limit we have is, let's say you start working on a client's project, and then if it's not a basic website or it's not just a website, let's say you're working on a system that requires user data and so much forth. Now, that is where WordPress will limit us. But then WordPress powers about, I think 40% or 60% of the world's website is powered on WordPress. So, and then of course code. So now when you want to really get deeper into other details, that is where now you need the exact code to write those details. You might not even need all those other things, but you'll need code. So it's important to learn code besides also the WordPress, so that even if things fail, because WordPress also has code, when you go to the backend, there is code there. So if things fail on front end, you go to the back and edit it. So we have HTML attributes. Attributes provide additional information about HTML elements. An example we have talked about, there is href, which is put into the anchor tag, which is a tag, specifies the URL. There is src, which is a source, specifies the image source. There is alternate, which is used in the image, which specifies the alternative text. And then in conclusion, HTML is the foundation of web development. Understanding its basic tags and structure is the first step to creating dynamic and interactive web pages. So for any kind of web pages, we're going to be static, dynamic, and we talked about dynamic web pages. Dynamic web pages, you need code to write that. You need code to start building dynamic web pages. You will need to understand code. So without wasting time, we're going to get started with our code. So I want you to be able to have your computer ready and make sure you have your VS Code installed in your computer. That is where we shall start from right about now. So first thing first, let me stop sharing my screen. Then I'll share now the VS Code itself. So we're going to choose our environment for tonight. So the first thing first is we're going to choose VS Code. So there's a default editor on your computer called Notepad. Please, if you go to Notepad to edit your work, you're going to be stressed, but you're going to learn better. But now we're going to use VS Code because it has autocompletes, it has colored text, so you easily know what you're working on. So first thing first, I'm going to share my full screen, and then we start the day with coding. So we're going to open our VS Code. So if you have your VS Code installed in your computer, just before you even open VS Code, I want you to go to your desktop. Just go to your desktop, and then when you go to your desktop, you should be able to create a new folder on your desktop. Start by creating a new folder on your desktop, and you can just call the folder website. My website. First, I can say my website. Let me just say my website. So create a new folder on your desktop. Once you create a new folder, just put it somewhere, where you can easily see, and then up to it. And then we're going to open VS Code. Of course, you just open VS Code by clicking Start. Then you just write VS. When you just write V, I'm pretty sure it's the only software with V probably you have in your computer. Then you just click on it and you say Open. So when you open for the first time, let me assume I'm opening for the first time. When you open for the first time, it's going to bring you some kind of text. Right here, it's going to bring you this way when you open for the first time in your computer. So this is VS Code, a very, very powerful software for writing code. Get started with VS Code, customize your editor, you learn a few things, learn basics and start coding. So for our record, what you're going to do, we're going to open, please go back to the opening of the desktop. Yes. All right, so first thing first, you create a folder on your desktop. Empty folder, just create it, name it anything. You can name it my website, you can name it your name, you can put anything. Let me change mine to just be a website. And you can put it in small letters or capital letters, but I would encourage you to put it in small letters. That would actually be better. So when you create a folder, go and open, type in your search bar and type at VS. You can type VS, then you can say a new window. So when you click on new window or just open the software itself, you're going to see the software start very neatly. It's going to start on your machine. And then once it starts, let me just put it on full screen so that you see it better. Now, since we created a folder on our computer, first thing first, when you create a folder, you should be able to, of course, we're going to use VS Code for our editing, and then create a folder. And then after you create a folder, we're going to click File. Now, once you click File, you're going to say Open Folder. You're going to see options of new file, new window with profile. But for this case, we're going to say Open Folder. Now, since we already have a folder that was created in the desktop, we're going to start from that folder. So I'll go to my desktop, search for where my desktop is. Then I'll choose, where is it? Website, right here. You click on Website, then you say Open. Then you say Select Folder, then it opens up. Are we still together up to this stage? So once it opened, it's going to prompt you something that you see. Do you trust the authors of the file in this folder? Of course, yes. Why would I not trust it? They just say, yes, I trust the authors because you are the author yourself. So that is first step. First step is create a new folder and go to your VS Code and click File and say Open Folder. Now, my folder has already been opened. Now, once you open a folder, the first thing is make sure you see this really well. You see on your left-hand navigation pane, you're going to see your folder name is there called Website. If yours is Website, you're going to see it there. Are we still together at that point? I wanted maybe one person could unmute their microphone so that we could do it together, someone who's on their computer, and then we just walk it out together. Just want to make sure. Daniel, yes, Daniel. Yes,
Yeah,
good. So when you see on your left navigation pane, you're going to see different files, different icons there. If you see the first one is called New File, there is New Folder, there's a Refresh, and then there's what? Collapse. So in our case, we're going to click New File. When you click New File, it prompts you a dialog where you input a text. So we're just going to call our first page called index.html. Now, you've seen when you're dealing with documents, when you're dealing with different documents, you have extensions like .ppt, that's PowerPoint, .xlsl, that is for Excel. Now, for every website, every web page that we build, the extension is .html. So that doesn't change. So for any website we're going to work on from today going onwards, the extension is going to be index.html. You can name it different options. You can say homepage, home.html, index.html, but by default, across the globe, the first page on the website is always index page, which is the first page that every server redirects to. So I would encourage you right now, put index.html, then you just press enter. Now, when you press enter, it is going to prompt you a very blank and open open page, which has nothing in it, very blank and open, very virgin. So that is where we're going to start writing our code. You could even sample by writing something. You could just sample by writing anything on your, let me increase my font size so that it's a bit bigger so that you can all see very well. Settings, to make it font size, let me make it 25. Hope it's not too big. Yes, so what you can see here, you can write any text. Now, on your computer, you're going to see something unique. Now, when you look at index.html up here, for those of you who are on your computers, you're going to either see a white box, something white on it. And it's white there because you have not saved your work. Are you seeing there's something white here coming up? So this means your work is not saved. So when you make any change on your computer, make sure you use the best keyboard shortcuts. The best keyboard shortcut, which is the only one to save, it's Control S. So when you hit Control S on your keyboard, the white disappears, meaning your work has already been saved. Now, if I had any other content to this editor, it brings the white. So I need to what? Save it by just hitting Control and X. Now you find that your work is saved. Now, how do we see what we have written? Now, this is what people don't see. This is what happens at the background. People who are using your website don't see these things. Now, how do I know that my text is visible? Now, some of you are going to be very happy to know that this is your first line of code that you've written and you can view it on the browser. So it is very simple. Now, let's go back to our desktop. You can minimize whatever you have here, whatever you've written, but make sure you save it, minimize it, and go back to your desktop. Remember the file we created called websites. Now, when I open this, I'm going to see a page called index. When I open this, I'm going to see a page called index. I think my extension is wrong. Just a second. Let me check on this quick. Okay, this is okay. Yeah, this is okay. So I'm going to see somewhere called index. Now, right now, I don't have any browser to use it for opening this because of the reason I'm going to explain later on. Now, for us to get started using our code, as we said earlier on, that we have different heading styles that we use. So the first and foremost thing that I told you, when you're writing any document in a website, this is how the structure of the website must and should look like. Let me explain this. So on top here, we have what we call idoc type. So that any code you first start by writing idoc type. And then the next thing is the HTML body. The HTML body has an opening tag and a closing tag. Each and every tag we're going to write will open and close, will open and close, open and close. And when you're closing it, you use a /. Let's say you're written opening, this is an opening tag. By closing it, you put the same tag, but you put a / there. Then you put it the same way you put it up there. You see head, it opens and then it closes. The body, it opens and then it closes. This is what we're going to write right now in our computers. And it has to be very neat the way we see it. So I'm going to give you a task on your editor right now that you can see. We're going to start writing our very first lines of code by writing idoc type and putting HTML body and then the head. So let me show you how simple you can do it on your editor. Now, when I go back to my editor, I'll start by putting that. Now, there is what you call autocomplete in coding. The reason why we use VS Code is because you don't write everything the way it's supposed to be. Now, by just writing the first less than sign or something like that, it has already prompted idoc. So instead of me writing the whole thing, I'll just click on idoc type. And then by default, everything comes the way it's supposed to be. That is how interesting using VS Code is. So it has autocomplete features. So that is the first thing you write. Then you press enter. And remember, when you're writing your code, it has to be very neat, very neat. You press enter, just press it once. And then we go back to our PowerPoint. The next thing we're going to write there is HTML. So we write there, say HT. Now, HTML is already having autocomplete as well. But you can, for purposes of you learning how to do it well, you can finish writing and then you close it. Now, once you close it, by default, the closing tag will come by itself. That is the beauty of using VS Code. The closing tag will come by itself. Now, the only thing you need to do here is press enter. When you press enter, it is going to push the closing tag to a new line. You see, when I press enter, it even directs me that the next line of code you should write from here must start from where the cursor is blinking. So we have HTML. HTML is opening and then it's closing. And then there's a cursor blinking there. And this cursor is telling us that the next code you're going to write, it is going to start from there. Now, when we go back to our structure, this structure, we already have idocs type. We already have HTML. Now we're going to write the head. And if you see from this, the head is not on the same line with HTML, though it won't affect anything if they're on the same line. But let me show you why. It is because when you're structuring documents or working with HTML, there is what you call indentations, whereby it gives some space to make sure your code is clean. Now you see here where I've highlighted, there are 3 dots, meaning they have spaced it 3 times. So instead of you spacing it manually, it has already automatically done it for you. So what we're going to write here is quite simple. We're going to write here and say head. Then we click enter, close it. And then by default, there's a closing tag. And then again, press enter. Now, after pressing enter, now it's telling us again, the next line of code to write should start from there. But since the structure of HTML says that both the head and then the body sits inside the HTML from here, both the head and the body sits inside the big HTML. So we can't let the body be inside the head. This might sound a little bit confusing, but let me do it so that you see it. So now, since we have the head here, now we come after the head and we press enter. And then we write body, right? Body, and then close it, and then open it. Now, our structure is now fully complete. So we have a fully complete structure for HTML. There's idoc type, which defines the type of document we're going to use. Then there is HTML, which starts from here and opens it. Remember, HTML is the mother here, so everything has to be within it. And then there is head section, starts from here, closes from here. You can even space it, just no problem. If you need to space, there will be no problem. Then we have the body itself. Now, if you save your work, the dot is going to disappear. Now, remember, I told you earlier on that we need to be able now to open and run our page and see if there is anything we see on our page. So first thing first, we're going to go back to our desktop. Just go back to your desktop and then look for the file. Look for the file called index. Now, for some of you, you cannot see, when you click on this index, it might not be able to open. Now, we want to now open our website. We've already started website development and the first step has been accomplished. So on your computers, if you have Chrome, you're going to right click on this file. You're going to right click on the file and you say open with. So you choose the preferred browser you want to use. Now it's telling me I can open it Avast secure browser. No, I don't want that. I want to open it in Google Chrome. So I'm going to say Google Chrome. Now, what you see here is already my website running. My website is functioning very, very well. Can someone tell me why we can't see anything on this website? Do you know why we can't see anything on this website? Let me see. Joseph, do you know why? Okay, Whitney, do you know why we can't see anything there?
Because we did not put anything in the body, we've only created the page.
Perfect. There is nothing on the body. We just created the page. There is no body element. So what we need to do for us to see something on our page, we need to now go to the body. Now, for now, you're going to forget about the head. Let the head be there. So for the body, you can make it bigger by just clicking on any empty space and just keep clicking enter. Now, remember anything, even if you're going to write 15,000 lines of code, it has to be inside the body here. Nothing should be outside. It has to be inside. So let's just sample and just write our name and just say, my name is Cedric. And then you save your work. Just say my name is Cedric, save your work. And then now for you to see the changes. So for us to see the name, my name is Cedric, we go back to our browser. Now, I don't know if you have all achieved the step of going back to the browser. Now my browser is here. I'll go back to my browser. And then all I have to do is refresh the page. Now by refreshing, you can hit F5 or you just click the refresh button on the top left. So as if we missed the title tag. Yes, we're going to put the title. We're going to put the title. We just want to make sure all our websites are running. So, and then we refresh the page. So when you refresh, you see, my name is Cedric. This is already a website. Guys, first clap for me. I have made a very big achievement. You know when you were learning, when I was learning these things back then in 2018, when you achieve running, you write something on VS Code and then, oh, thank you for clapping. You write something on VS Code and then you are able to see it on the browser. You either leave your laptop and go for a short break because it's a big achievement. So we've written something and put it there. Kindly repeat this, please. Okay, let me repeat that part real quick. So since you already have your code written, all you need to do is go back to your file on the computer. Let's say the folder, remember the folder we created at the beginning? Mine was on the desktop. So I'll go to my desktop and look for my file. It was called website. But remember, you save your work. Then now, for some reasons, we're not seeing this thing change as Chrome. The reason is because I have not made Chrome to be my default browser. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to right click on my index. Then I say open with. Then I say choose another app. I want you guys also to do this so that it doesn't disturb you. And then you say Google Chrome. And then you can say always, making sure that every HTML file will be opened by Google Chrome. So I'll say always. When I click always, it will even change the picture, the icon. Let me go, Yeah, so it just opened, but I want to show you the icon. So you see, the icon has even changed. Let me make it bigger. The icon has even changed to Google Chrome. Meaning now, I don't need to do any other thing. What I do, I just double click on it, then it opens on my browser on Google Chrome. So that is what I've just repeated. So now let us start the process of coding. Now, we were just sampling with my name. Now, a very important thing that I talked about in our slide is the title. The title of a website must go in the head section. So in the head section, to make your things very organized, when you want to start writing any line of code, instead of just coming inside here and clicking enter like that, this is very wrong. To click spacebar for so long to get to where you write code. Just come to the last bit of the code and then press enter. It will directly take you to where you're supposed to write your code. So here we're going to use what we call title tag. So put their title and close it. So when you put title, it is going to ask you to write. So where you see the cursor is blinking, that is where you write your title. So I'll say here, my website. Let me just put my name, Cedric Otolo. So that is the title of my website. Now, this is what I am going to see on my browser's title. You save the work, go back to your, go back to your Google Chrome and refresh that page. Now you're going to see up here on top of my browser there where it's written index.html, you're going to see change to Cedric Otolo. Save. Perfect. Cedric Otolo. So that is simple and how you can put a title of a website. Now, you see different websites. Now, you're going to start understanding. Now, you're seeing where it's written meet and Google Meet. You're seeing here meet productivity. Now, that is the title. You're seeing here ChatGPT. That's the title. You're seeing here basic programming. That is the title. You're seeing here on my email. That is the title. You're seeing here on WhatsApp. That is the title. Now, you're going to start understanding how things work in real life. Now, we talked about H1, H2, H3, H4. So let us now start dealing with the body and start writing real heading. So there's H1 to H6 that we had talked about. Let me just open that slide so that we are able to go through well. All right, we're here. So H1 is the largest heading. So we go back to our code and then we write there H1. So now let me give you another syntax. Instead of you putting the tag every single day, I'm giving you another option, which might make you lazy, but might make you faster because we're talking about productivity. That's why this session is called productivity. You don't need to stress yourself and waste a lot of time in doing something. You can do it simply. So I can just come here and open H1 and I close it. So once you close it by default, it will close. Now it's telling us you can now type. So my H1 is, I'll say, this is my first heading. So you can do it on your side. You can do it on your end. Just put H1 and say, this is my first heading. Save your work. Go to the browser. And refresh. Perfect. We already seen H1. This is my first heading. Now that is already what H1 does. Now let's look at H2. What does H2 do? So we just go next, then you say H2 and click enter. So H2, we just say this is my second heading. Save the work, and then we refresh our page. Refresh the page. Now we start to see how the different heading sections look. Now name it so forth. Go to H5. Let's try H4. Let's say this is my fourth heading. Save it. Go to your Chrome, refresh it. Also, one fastest way to go to switch browsers. You don't need to you don't need to go with your mouse. Just hit alternate and tab. When you hit alternate, then you keep pressing tab. So it keeps switching between the different browsers. So you don't need to go through every process. For example, if I'm here on my VS Code, I'll just hit alternate, then I press tab and takes me straight to Chrome. It takes you to the most immediate. So we have H4, and then let's try H6 and see how H6 looks. So H6 this is my sixth heading. So let's save it and check it how it works. Refresh the page. So now you've seen how the flow is from H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6. So let's see. So we talked about the heading. We have the main title, the sub-heading. Now we talked about paragraphs. How do we write paragraphs? How do we write paragraphs in this code? So now we already have H1. So let's put some paragraph somewhere under H1. So I'll just go to after H1 and I click enter. So let's put some paragraph by opening a paragraph tag using P. And then you say, this is my first paragraph that I'm working on and I'm really excited about today. Perfect. So this is the paragraph. So let's save our work and then we see what a paragraph looks like. Save your work, go to your page, refresh your page. Perfect. Now you see the paragraphs look a bit smaller. That is how paragraphs are supposed to look. They look a bit smaller. Now I want you to see the bigger perspective of paragraphs. I'm going to write a lot of text in this paragraph so that you are able to see. So on the paragraph, let me come. Oh, someone is riding a bike crazily. So let me just come down and then put the next paragraph. Let me just try to put something here. So another syntax that I told you. Now, once you've understood this is H1, H2, I want to write a paragraph, you don't even need to put these tags every day. All you need to do, just write letter P. Now, when you write letter P, there's what you call emit abbreviations. Now, emit abbreviations, they give you actually a full code. Now, when you write letter P, just click enter. Once you click enter, everything comes. Then I'll write, I say, this is the day that the Lord has made. We shall rejoice and be glad in it. Perfect. Anyway, I'm also giving a challenge. When you're a programmer, you need to know how to type. You really need to know how to type. I remember some of the things I'll share with you so that they encourage you. There is a software called Mavis Beacon. Mavis Beacon, there's tux typing that you need to see how to embrace and learn the different typing skills so that when you're coding, you're really matching with the code. You don't stress looking for keys. It's very hard to be a software engineer, but you don't know where the keys are. And then you keep pecking. Me, I learned coding when I was in P6. I started learning in P6. Actually, I learned it in, not coding, sorry, typing on a computer. So it's a very important skill that you need to learn. So I want to put a very long paragraph so that we are able to, you see, oops, that's a very long one. So don't worry how I got this text, but I'll show you how I got them. This is what you call dummy text. Dummy text. When you're building websites and you don't really have the information to put there, you can just do what you call lorem, which gives you the text. So I'll just check on my browser and refresh. There you go. I have my paragraph, a very long paragraph. It's in, this, you can't even read this, lorem and all kind of stuff. Now, that is how you put a paragraph. Now, I want to show you what I just did so that you can have many lines of paragraph for testing, because right now you might not have a lot of words to write. So what you do is you just go to, you start a paragraph. Are we together? You start a paragraph, and then if you don't have the right words to write, I can say, I just write the lorem, L-O-R-E-M. So I want you to put all these things now should be at the back of your mind. Always save a million of frustration and save it. Yes. Million of frustration, blah, blah. So you write lorem, and then when you write lorem, you tell lorem how many words do you need. Now, let's say I need 20 words. So I'll just say lorem 20. Then I click enter. Now, you find that you already have your 20 words. Save your work, go to your browser, and refresh. You already have your 20 words right here. So that is one very good way of practicing. If you don't have the right words for there in particular time, because when you're coding, you might not have everything in your head. Let's say I even start here, H1, then I press enter. I'll just say lorem 10. I want 10 words there. It will give me 10 words. I go, refresh my page, and I have my 10 words right there. So it saves you time, a million of times to writing. So that is it. So that is about the paragraph. Now I want to show you the next one. Someone might ask that, okay, I'm now coding, I'm writing all this coding stuff. I want to know, let me just make sure I follow this PPT, something here. So we have seen the paragraph, and before we see, what is it that under the first paragraph we don't have a tag in P2? Oh, very good question. Very good question. Perfect. Okay, someone has asked a very nice question. So why is it that after paragraph, we don't see P2? So this gentleman expects P1 to be here. Then we go to P2, P3, P4. Now, for paragraphs, it's by default. You don't need to have a definition of the levels. It is one level. It's either P or P. There's no P1, there's no P2, because it's a paragraph. And then they have the same formatting, same size, same everything. Because they believe paragraphs, if you want to change a paragraph, you change it on your own. So it has no P2. It is just P. Now, let us say we want to bold our text. We want to bold. P doesn't have symmetric order. No, it doesn't have. Can you repeat the lorem number of words? Yes, let me repeat the lorem. So if you want to write the lorem, I'll say paragraph, or close it. Then you write lorem, L-O-R-E-M. Then don't space it. Put the numbers of text you want. If I want 1,000 text, I'll put 1,000 and hit enter. And then you have 1,000 text. Save your work. Go back to the browser. Reload it. There we go. Oh man, this is a lot of words. So I have my 1,000 text on my browser. So that is how you put the lorem to translate, to give you the numbers of words that you probably need. So I have converted this. This is Latin. I have converted it to English. So it actually has some sense. It's saying the company itself is a very successful company. Let it be the fault of your refusal to see. But these things doesn't make sense. They don't really make sense. So you don't even need to stress to focus on. It's better you use the lorem, which is in Latin, than use English words. Because someone might think you just don't know how to speak English. Something like that. So let's say I want to bold the text. Let's say I'm typing, I have a paragraph. Let me put a paragraph with like 20 words, lorem 20. Lorem 20. I'll put a paragraph with 20 words, but I want to bold the specific part of this text. And remember, if I put a space, if I put like this a space a million times, I am only going to see one space. I will not be able to see all of it, simply because HTML only recognizes one space at a time. Even if you put it in the next page like this, you're still going to see one complete paragraph. Let me remove this one because it's making my work look bogus. Then I'll just remove it. Oh, that's a lot of words. So if I save this work, I am going to see all this as one line, not as broken lines like this. I refresh my page. So you see, it's strictly one line because HTML only recognizes one spacing. If you want to write many spacings, we shall see how it's done. Sorry. So let me bold the text. Let's say I want to bold the particular text. I want to bold the particular text in my paragraph. So when you want to bold the text, we're going to use some tags. So the tag we're going to use is called B. So if you want to bold the text, let's say I want to bold this one in particular. So what I'll do, I'll come right before it and I'll put the tag B and I'll close it. Now, once it closes, you're going to have opening tag B, meaning bold. And then there's a closing tag, this one, meaning also bold and it's closing. Now, if I refresh this page, nothing will be bold because what you're supposed to bold must be inside these two things. So for it to work, I'm just going to remove this one from here, highlight it, and maybe cut it. Cut it by pressing Ctrl X, cut this one, and then put it where I want to stop bolding. Let's say I want to stop bolding right here. So meaning, whatever is inside this tag will be bolded. So if I save my work, and I go to my website, and I refresh. Now you see, let me zoom this out. If you see down here, right down here, this one has the bold sign. This one has been bolded. The rest is normal. So some of the things you're not going to be able to see them all in PowerPoint slides. If you miss, you just need to go through the video. So something has already been bolded here because I've used the bold feature. Now let's say I want to bold the whole paragraph here. I'll just come here and start my B anywhere. I'll put my B there, close it, and then maybe remove this one from here, cut it, and then paste it somewhere. I can paste it in the middle here, paste it there, meaning all of this content will be bold. Save the work, go to your browser, and refresh. Now meaning, are you seeing? Everything here is bold. Now, when you look at websites, you see things in bold, some things are in italics. That is the syntax they use. Now, we have talked about bolding. The next one is how do we create italics? Italics. This is italics is very hard to explain what italics is, but italics, these are slanted text. Let's say you want to slant text. I know there were those cool kids in high school when they're writing, they write as if they're sleeping, and then they write so neat with slanted text. So if I want to slant a text or anything like that, I'll use a keyword called I, which is italics. So I'll just, the same way we have done is we just look for where we want to make things italics. I just say, I want to put our italics maybe in the middle here. I'll just put open and put I and then close. And then see, I want to put maybe this is my italics text. Save your work and then go back to the browser. We expect something different there. Perfect. Where is it? Right here. If you see that, everything there is italics. So we have italicized our text. We have italicized our text. Now, that is for creating it to make it bold, making it to be italics, and then using paragraphs, then using edit headings. Very simple. So I am going to give a test for all of us. I'm going to give a test. I'm going to give a test right now. We're going to do it together. I want someone to be able to, let me see. Who wants to volunteer? I need a volunteer. Someone is going to volunteer. I need a lady to volunteer. I need a lady to volunteer to share their screen. A lady to volunteer to share their screen. We have a test to do, and I would want someone to share the screen so we do it together. Who's volunteering?
Can you see my Visual Studio Code?
I think we're almost seeing it. Yes, we can see it.
Okay. You want me to italicize this paragraph?
Yes, you're going to. So the task is simple. So this is the task. Everybody's going to do this, but she's going to help us. She's going to guide us. So, oh, this is very neat. Guys, let's first clap for her. Her website, the flow is so neat. You need to be very organized in your code. Very organized. I want to show you something. So if you see her paragraph has it extends even beyond the VS Code. Can you see when you move to your far right? So for you to make it come, yes, for you to make everything fall within one line, you press on your keyboard. You're going to press on your keyboard. You're going to press alternate and Z. Press Alt and Z. Alternate and Z. Perfect. So when you press Alt and Z, it squares everything back to your viewpoint. So you see everything at your disposal. So that is what you need to do. So the task is very simple for tonight. This will be our last task for tonight that we're going to be able to do. And I want to make sure everybody down there is actually doing the same. So we want her to create a paragraph, which she already has. We want her to bold everything in that paragraph. And also, we want everything that has been bolded to be italicized in that paragraph.
Okay. And
yes.
Start?
Yes, please start.
B, close the tags. So now, since my closing tags are here, I'm going to cut it from here. I'm sorry. From here to here. And then you want them italicized?
Yes, everything must be italicized. Is she correct? Yes, she's correct for now. Guys, is she correct or not? We first don't want to see what she has done. We want to see the code. As a programmer, you should be able to see the code and know that I think this is wrong. So is she correct or no? Let me hear the person to verify this. Yes, Daniel, is she correct? Yes, Jody.
I think she's correct.
Are you sure?
Yes,
But she has used capital I instead of small I.
but you said
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yes, that is being very attentive. Yeah. So case sensitive doesn't mind about the case sensitive. She is. I've tried it both sides and it's working perfect. So she's very correct. Though I encourage us to use small letters when doing it. So you run the code. Run the code. You see. Run the code. You see. Run the code. You see. Perfect. Now, on top of that code, I'm going to introduce one more last thing. Then I give all of you now a task to do. So I want you to be able to yes, go back to your code. So you see how people strike through documents. Let's say someone has written something, then they strike through the line. Let's say they cut across the paragraph or something. So I want you to go where there is your first sentence, after where there is, I don't know how to read them, Asumanda Hera, something like that. I see. Keep going where after the full stop. After the full stop. The full stop, keep going. Yes. So we want that word written, Asumenda, to have a strike through. So the keyword we're going to use there is, we're going to use the tag called S. S will help you to strike through that text. So just put the X and make sure that stuff is in between. Okay, let's first try it. Yes, I'll explain it. No, not X, it's S. It's S. Let's do S, and then I'll answer that. Now I wanted you to put it in the middle somewhere so that it's not so congested. You could, okay. Anyway, just cut it and put it in the middle, not at the end. Yes, there. Yes, save it and then run and you see how it works.
I have autosave on.
Perfect. So obviously what has happened, she was able to strike through the line. So someone asked a very good question. There is sometimes, okay, back then, I remember even in 2019, when you use S, it will bold your text, it will put bold. But then I think there has been an update, so S will strike through the line. So if you go back to your code, and remember, I want you to master some of these things in your head, master them, because these are things you're not going to find every day in the PowerPoint. Go back to your code, go back to the code, and then I'll give you a next option to write how do you put bold. So instead of saying B, you can use strong. You can put the word strong. Go back to your code and just try to put a new paragraph, and then you can put it as strong. Instead of using B for bold, you can use strong. So that's another option. So just create a new paragraph, enter. So as we see, the way she is doing her code, press enter again. You can press enter. Yes, so just to make your things very systematic, put P, just write P, and click enter. Then put their lorem, maybe 15. Enter. Yes, and then I just want you to put strong. Put the keyword strong. It's still going to do the same thing as bold will do. And then also there's some other keywords. If you put like E will also put strong. Enter. Then you cut it. But in most cases, when you're dealing with search, when you want to bold something, you start by writing strong, so that when the cursor starts blinking in between, you just keep writing. Only that we already have a paragraph, we just want to bold it. That's why we're cutting and pasting. Paste it. Now when she pastes this and then save the work, it is going to be, of course, it's going to be bolded already. Perfect, it's going to be bolded. Now let's go back to our code for the one last program, and then we close it for tonight. So when you go back to our code, I want you to click file. Everybody go to file, click file. And then you're going to see down there, first shift here, you're going to see down there a feature called autosave. Autosave is right there. So when you click autosave, all your things are saved by default. If you make even just a full stop, it saves itself automatically. So tomorrow we shall go to a little bit of designing and making our things look more artistic and more nicer. So we are in the right process. So right about now, I'm going to wish you guys all a good night, and then we shall link up tomorrow.